You are earning enough to not be broke. $55,000, $65,000, maybe $75,000 a year, but you are still losing the game. Rent eats half your paycheck. Your job market is either freezing or pricing you out of the promotions that would actually change your math. And every time you look at home prices in your city, the number has moved further away from what your salary can support. Here's what nobody is telling you. Your income is not the problem. Your location is. The cities where most people your age are currently sitting are the exact cities where the gap between what jobs pay and what housing costs has become mathematically impossible to close. No matter how hard you work, no matter how disciplined you are with money, you are not failing a personal finance test. You are playing on a broken board. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you the 10 states where job growth and housing costs are still aligned, where a $65,000 salary actually buys you a life, not just a rental and a subscription to financial anxiety. And number 1, we'll show you the state that has cracked the exact formula most cities have completely broken. Stay with me. Number 10, Arizona. Most people think of Arizona as a retirement destination. That framing is 15 years out of date. The greater Phoenix area is now one of the strongest job markets in the country for people earning in the $50,000 to $85,000 range. The exact income bracket that gets squeezed hardest in coastal markets. Semiconductor manufacturing, logistics, aerospace, and defense tech are all expanding here. A single chip fabrication facility creates 1,500 direct positions and hundreds more in supply chain, maintenance, and support. Jobs that pay real wages without requiring a Stanford degree. Here is the math that matters. Housing in Phoenix sits slightly below the national average, while salaries in growing sectors are nationally competitive. That gap between what you earn and what housing demands determines whether your income builds anything. In Arizona, that gap still exists in your favor for the $55,000 to $75,000 earner. In a way, it has largely disappeared in California or Seattle. Tucson offers an even more favorable ratio for defense and research roles. Extreme heat is a preference problem. A salary-to-housing ratio that permanently prevents wealth building is a structural trap. Number 9, Kansas. Earn $60,000 in Kansas, and you are actually middle class. Earn $60,000 in Los Angeles, and you qualify for housing assistance. That is not an exaggeration. That is the mathematical reality of what the same income produces in different markets. Kansas does not have a branding problem. It has a perception problem, and that perception problem is exactly what keeps it undervalued. For people in the income bracket, this video is specifically about EV battery manufacturing, renewable energy, and logistics are creating jobs where a $60,000 salary can support a mortgage, a savings rate above zero, and an emergency fund simultaneously. In Wichita, aerospace pays mid-5-figure salaries where starter homes cost under $200,000. That combination, growing industry, competitive wages, housing that matches, has broken down in most major metros. Kansas is not where you go because you gave up. It is where you go when you stop letting perception cost you a decade of progress. Number 8, Alabama. Huntsville is the most important city in America that people earning $60,000 to $85,000 in the wrong market have never seriously considered. Aerospace, cybersecurity, and defense manufacturing are concentrated here at a level rivaling markets 10 times its size. The Mazda Toyota plant has created a supplier network, paying competitive wages across every skill level. These are career track positions that in San Jose or Seattle would require a housing budget eliminating any possibility of saving. The salary-to-housing ratio in Huntsville is one of the most favorable in the country for the $65,000 to $85,000 earner. You can own a home on a single income and save money at the same time. Both of those things, which feel like luxuries in coastal markets, are baseline expectations here. Birmingham covers medicine and finance. Mobile is growing as a port city. Trade-off, humidity, and neighborhood research before committing. But for someone whose current city is making financial stability mathematically impossible, Alabama is a structural upgrade. Number 7, South Carolina. South Carolina has been running a manufacturing expansion for nearly a decade that most people in the $55,000 to $80,000 income bracket have completely missed. Why? Because the marketing around it targets investors, not workers. BMW's Spartanburg plant and Boeing's North Charleston operation anchor a supplier network that has been at capacity for years. EV manufacturing is the next chapter. New factories, new brands, and a labor market actively recruiting people with manufacturing, engineering, and supply chain backgrounds at wages that have not yet been eroded by housing costs. Greenville and Columbia sit below the national average in a way that is meaningful for mid-5-figure earners. Not technically cheaper, but practically cheaper in terms of what percentage of income goes to housing versus everything else. That ratio determines whether you are building anything or just surviving. In inland South Carolina, that ratio still favors the worker. Coastal areas carry a premium. They always do. But for the specific intersection this video is about, job growth, meeting housing that matches inland South Carolina is underrated. Number 6. Utah. The question most people earning $70,000 to $90,000 in tech, data, or finance never ask themselves: what would this salary actually produce if I did not live somewhere that captures all of it in rent and taxes? Utah's Silicon Slopes, the Provo-Orem corridor south of Salt Lake City, is where that question gets answered. Software, fintech, data, and product roles here compete directly with coastal salaries, while the cost of housing is not even in the same conversation as San Francisco or Seattle. The calculation is direct. A $75,000 tech salary in San Francisco leaves almost nothing after rent and taxes. The same salary in Salt Lake City leaves a real surplus, and that surplus is the difference between renting indefinitely and building a financial position that compounds. Housing has cooled from the pandemic peak. The Intermountain Healthcare Network is world-class. Trade-off: traffic, as growth outpaces infrastructure. But traffic is manageable. A salary-to-housing ratio that permanently prevents wealth building is not. Number 5. Texas. Texas removed state income tax because it understood something most states have not fully processed. When workers keep more of what they earn, the math of living there gets better across every income bracket. For someone earning $65,000, the difference between paying state income tax and not paying it is several $1,000s annually, money that either goes toward a down payment or disappears into a state budget. Texas chose to let you keep it. The play in 2026 is not Austin. It has caught up to mid-tier coastal pricing. The play is San Antonio, military-anchored, still affordable, growing steadily. It is the DFW suburbs, where a $70,000 salary still qualifies for a mortgage on a real house. Texas rewards people who research beyond the obvious zip codes. No income tax, plus genuine career optionality. That combination is harder to find than it looks on a map. Number 4. Georgia. Atlanta is the most financially underrated major American city for the $55,000 to $80,000 earner, working in finance, logistics, technology, or operations. The city has the economic infrastructure of a coastal market. Fortune 500 headquarters, the world's busiest airport as a logistics anchor, fintech, media, and software, all operating at scale. Without the housing costs that have made equivalent markets in New York or San Francisco inaccessible to anyone earning less than 6 figures. That gap is the opportunity. Atlanta is the specific intersection this video is about. A job market generating real career mobility at the $60,000 to $80,000 level in a housing market where that salary still produces forward financial movement. Savannah adds port logistics and shipping careers that pay well and are hard to fill. Augusta is building a cybersecurity hub around Army Cyber Command that most people in defense tech have not yet noticed. Housing across Georgia remains moderate relative to what the economy generates. Number 3, North Carolina. The Research Triangle is one of the few places in the country where someone earning $65,000 to $85,000 in biotech, data, or software can advance both their career and their financial position simultaneously. Without those two goals being in permanent tension with each other, the pipeline from Duke, UNC, and NC State feeds directly into expanding companies. Job security and trajectory here are as strong as anywhere in the country for the right skill sets. Charlotte is the Southeast financial capital, competitive national salaries in a housing market that has not yet fully priced out the people those salaries belong to. The Triad is the manufacturing backbone with some of the best salary-to-housing ratios in the state. EV battery plants and pharma expansion create a 5-year runway of new positions. North Carolina is the clearest example of what this video describes, a state where job market and housing market have not yet decoupled. That alignment is the asset. Number 2, Ohio. Ohio is the most direct answer available in 2026 to the specific problem this video is about. Housing statewide runs 15% below the national average. In Cleveland and its suburbs, closer to 30% below. For someone earning $60,000 to $75,000, that differential is not a minor convenience. It is the difference between a mortgage payment that leaves room for savings and a rent payment that consumes any possibility of financial forward movement. The Intel chip campus outside Columbus is one of the largest manufacturing investments in American history, drawing engineers, supply chain professionals, and contractors nationwide. Columbus is young and growing. Cincinnati balances corporate headquarters with costs that do not punish mid-5-figure earners. Cleveland has the Cleveland Clinic, one of the top medical institutions in the world. Ohio does not compete on lifestyle marketing. It competes on the math that determines whether someone earning $65,000 is building something or standing still. Number 1, Tennessee. Tennessee is the only state on this list that combines no state income tax, 3 distinct metros with genuinely different career profiles, housing that has remained accessible for mid-5-figure earners despite significant demand growth, and a job market in active expansion across multiple sectors simultaneously. That combination does not happen by accident. Nashville is the healthcare tech and corporate operations hub. Salaries have risen with the city's profile, but the gap between Nashville pay and Nashville housing still favors the worker in a way Boston or Austin no longer does. Knoxville is the move for research, energy, or defense-adjacent tech. Genuine affordability without sacrificing career trajectory. Oak Ridge National Laboratory drives sustained regional investment most people have not registered. Memphis is the logistics and supply chain play. FedEx headquarters, a critical distribution node, and housing that lets someone in operations build real financial position on a single mid-range income. The EV complex outside Memphis is creating supplier and logistics jobs across every skill level for the next decade. Vanderbilt Medical Center anchors a healthcare system stronger than most people expect from a mid-sized southern metro. Tennessee is not a compromise. It is the specific answer to the specific problem most people earning $55,000 to $80,000 in the wrong city are experiencing right now. Career momentum in a market where housing has not yet decoupled from the salaries being generated. Every state on this list shares one thing. The gap between what jobs pay and what housing costs has not yet closed, the way it has in the cities where most people your age are sitting and waiting for conditions to improve. That gap is not closing in those cities. It is widening. The structural forces behind it. Insurance costs, property tax escalation, institutional investor demand do not reverse quickly. The people in your income bracket who are building equity right now, who are saving money at the end of the month, who are not spending their mid-30s in the same financial position they were in at 27. Most of them did not get a raise that changed their math. They made a geographic decision. The window where these 10 states offer that opportunity without having fully priced in the demand that is coming is still open. It will not stay open at the same level indefinitely. If you want the specific cities inside these states where the salary to housing ratio is strongest right now, that breakdown is on your screen. I will see you there.